Good evening, everybody. Robert from East Coast Sawing, and today's going to be a little bit talking about the new shop build, and why I'm building a new shop, and what my end goal of having a new shop is. So, as you can see behind me now, and what I'm sitting on, I've gotten part of my floor brought over. As mentioned in part 2, the floor for the shop is going to be built out of multiple pieces. My overall shop dimensions are going to be 10 feet wide and 18 feet long, and because I already had a platform 7.5 feet, I'm going to cut that out completely. Get my nose on camera. Good evening, everybody. It's Robert from East Coast Sawing, and this is part 3 of the shop build. And I'm not going to be doing too much building or showing you building. I just want to talk about the shop, why I'm building a new shop, and what my overall plans for the new shop are going to be. So, as you've seen in parts 1 and 2, I was doing site prep to get the floor put in. And as you can see now, I'm sitting on part of a new floor. So this was a platform I built about 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, that's 7 feet wide and 14 feet long. My shop is going to be 10 feet wide and 18 feet long. So the reason I use this platform instead of just building a 10 by 18 platform floor is this would have been rotten, wasted material if I hadn't used it. Also, it represents a lot of material for me. I don't have access to very large trees on a regular basis on my property because, as you've seen in my other videos, I do own my own sawmill. And doubly so for trees that would be long enough to mill up into floor components. Because obviously I would need at least two that would make up the 18-foot length. Realistically, I can't mill 18 feet on my mill. I can do about 17 and 1, so I would have probably done 16 and then a 2 feet longer piece. So using this floor was a lot of extra materials. As you can see next to me, I've got my stash of 2 by 6 by 14 hemlock that we milled up on the property. I believe it was 2020. It might have been 2019 we milled this up. And it's actually what a lot of this floor was built with, was the 2 by 6 by 14 hemlock, which is why it's 14 feet long. So I'm going to use this to add 3 feet onto this side, and then 4 feet onto the back side to give me my total size of 10 by 18. So as you can see, space is at a bit of a premium in here. So when I go to build my walls, I'm going to be pre-finishing them, so they'll actually have their final sheathing on them before I stand them up. So in the case of the two 18-foot walls, they'll be done in an 8 and a 10-foot section, so I'm still able to lift them up. And the reason for 8 and 10 instead of say 9 is I'm doing a 2-foot on center construction for my wall, so 8 and 10 works. This wall on this side is going to be 6.5 feet tall, and the wall on this side is going to be about 9.5, not quite 10 feet tall, in that range, and that'll give me a single pitch roof for my new shop. So on top of going up to 180 square feet, I'll also have not quite 10 feet of headroom at the highest. On average, it'll be well more than 8, because it'll be, I think once I get to about here, it'll be at the 8-foot mark. So why am I building a new shop? I don't think I mentioned this in part 1, but as you've seen in my previous videos, my old shop is right next to me here. Well, my current shop. And it's built in the back of a school bus that we had on the property for various reasons. It was first living accommodations, then a wood shed, and then it was junk storage. I turned it into a wood shop in 2022, the fall of 2022. The reason I'm going up to a bigger shop and building it is the bus was great when I first built it because all I was doing at the time was charcuterie and cutting boards, and I didn't have a proper table saw. I didn't have a jointer. I just had the planer. So the shop was perfect for what I was doing. Now that I've gotten a bunch more tools and I'm getting into bigger projects, I find I'm not able to be effectively in this shop anymore. And a good example is I do 5-foot live edge benches from 2 big slabs. I can't do them in this shop at all. I can't even plane them in this shop because I'm limited to about 5 feet of length of planeability, being able to plane in this shop, run through the planer and the jointer. And with the size of the slabs, it makes it incredibly awkward to do that. So there's that. And then I'm limited to headroom as well. This shop is 6'1", 6'2" overall headroom height at the highest, and that's only because the floor rotted out and I was able to put a slightly lowered floor in it. So big projects are really difficult in there. I've done a dining room table in there, a steamer trunk / toy chest, a couple big coffee tables, and 2 dining room chairs in there, and every single project was something was in the way at all times, or I was bumping into everything. With the case of my chair, the dining room chairs, the height from the table saw up to the ceiling was greater than the chair, so I couldn't assemble the chairs fully in here. And then this summer I was doing a lot of lawn furniture, Adirondack inspired lawn chairs, 4-foot swing benches, a couple really big projects that I couldn't do in the bus without being excessively cramped, so I had to do them outside. So in the case of the swing benches, I could build the bench inside the shop and get it out the door quite fine, but I couldn't do the swing itself. In the case of the lawn chairs, I could assemble the side frames, but I couldn't, and I could assemble the back, but I couldn't actually build the chair. So between the size of the door, my shop door I think is 36 inches wide and only 4 feet tall. It's based around the emergency exit of the bus. So between a lot of that, I needed to go to a bigger shop. And I also got some more new tools in this last year that really kind of max out my space in the shop anyway. Like I said, now, when I first moved there, I did not have a table saw. I didn't have a jointer. All I had was my spindle sander, my hand tools, router, palm sander, such, and my planer, and that was it. I didn't have any big tools outside of those 2. My first table saw in this shop was a handheld on the underside of a piece of plywood, and that piece of plywood was my assembly table. Now in there, I got a full-size contractor's cast iron table saw. I've got a spindle sander and an edge belt sander. I've got a jointer and the planer. I've got a 14-inch bandsaw, and then again, all my hand tools. I've just recently acquired a 1632 open-ended drum sander. It's never been in the shop. It's never going in the shop because I can't get it in the shop. It's just too unwieldy. Too big of a tool to have in this tiny little shop. So again, building the new shop, more space, more storage, bigger projects. So for budget, anybody's curious about that, I'm going to be around 700 on my budget. Realistically, I'm actually going to be a lot more than that when you factor in the hidden costs. But for actual bought materials, what I actually have to buy materials wise is going to be about $700. That's 5/8 plywood, tongue and groove plywood for the floor. It's going to be these 1-inch pine boards as a subfloor, and then 5/8 plywood over top. I'm not sure if I'm going with plywood or OSB at this point, because OSB is just fine for a shop floor. All the insulation for the walls and ceiling, and then 1/2 inch or 7/16 OSB for the roof underlayment. I'm not buying commercial roofing products. In a later video, I'll show you what I'm going with for my roof. But everything else for this shop is going to be, the lumber is going to be completely milled off on property. There's going to be no commercially bought lumber for the walls, the ceiling, the internal paneling, the cabinetry. Some of the cabinetry is going to be bought in plywood, but the core of the shop isn't going to be built from bought material. Just insulation, and floor and roof. So the hidden costs are buying bandsaw blades, running the mill, fuel to get my logs out of the woods, and my lumber milled up. Those are the hidden costs. But the actual raw material cost is going to be around $700. I'm going to have a row of windows on my high wall, because as you can see, I'm not sure if the camera is on the right angle for this. On one side I got the bus, and on this side I got my wood shed. It's a 8-foot tall delivery truck box. So, and the wall is going to be practically touching it. So windows aren't really an option at that level. So what I'm going to do is I have a bunch of tempered glass panes here, and I'm going to put them in a row on the top high wall. So I'll get light from up high, because the windows will be up above the wood shed. The door is going to have a window in it, so I'll get natural light from that. And I'm going to do kind of a hybrid door frame on it. So the door is like a 34 or 36 inch wide steel house door. And I'm going to put a 2-foot barn style door as the door jamb. So it's kind of going to work like barn doors or like French doors. So I'm going to have the 36 inch man door as my primary means of entrance. And then if I want to get slightly bigger projects in and out, I can open up the door jamb and swing it completely out of the way, and then I'll have a 5-foot doorway. I don't anticipate I'll ever need more than 5 feet of doorway. Again, if it's beautiful weather, I'll just build it outside if it's way too big. But usually big projects are in components, so I can get the components at least out. So I'm going to splice in some video of me moving and setting up this floor. And that'll wrap up part 3. So I think that's all I got to really say there. Like I said, all this hemlock here is going to be the rest of my floor joists. And again, now that the floors, now that the floor is down, you can kind of understand why my beams are running crosswise, because I'm adding 3 feet, so I need a center support piece, and that'll support the additional floor. And the whole shop's going to settle and sink in. I have no illusions that it won't. I'm not too worried about if it kind of goes cattywampus or out of level or out of whack. It's never getting moved out of this location unless it's taken apart. So I'm not stressing about that. So, hope you enjoyed the videos, guys. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video. Consider hitting that subscribe button. I would like to make YouTubing my full-time passion on top of my woodworking. And have a great day, everyone.